hope you're all doing really well and welcome to my spoiler-free review of the Wheel of Time Series 1. So just a bit of context, I have never read the Wheel of Time and I deliberately didn't read The Eye of the World before going into this TV show because I don't often get the chance to watch a book adaptation without having read the books before, because usually I do read books and stuff that tend to get adapted. So I thought, just for fun, I'll watch the show, take it at face value, and just kind of, you know, be able to give kind of almost a non-book perspective on the show and stuff for people that are interested before I go diving into The Eye of the World, which I am actually going to start today. So yeah, like I said, this is going to be spoiler free. I am going to sort of mention some bits and pieces here and there, but overall I am trying my best to keep this spoiler free, so if you haven't seen the show and just kind of want to get my general thoughts, you can watch this video. But yeah, without any further ado, here is what I thought. Well, my overall thoughts are, I definitely liked it, but there was definitely issues I think with it. It wasn't perfect, it wasn't like blow my mind amazing, but I did really enjoy what it offered, and it made me actually really excited to read the books actually, because I feel like, you know, the show, from what I hear of from book fans and stuff, it's not the best adaptation of the work and stuff, so if anything it has actually made me really excited to read the books to see exactly what Robert Jordan's vision of this world actually was. I would say the main thing with this show is it really definitely struggles to juggle its cast of characters. I think one thing that's quite well known about the Wheel of Time is the fact that it's got a huge cast of characters. And, you know, this show's only 8 episodes long or something. Apparently it's trying to adapt stuff from 2 of these massive books. You know, and there's just not quite, I think, enough time for it to develop its characters and stuff. And you feel like you're jumping around a bit too much and no one really gets the exploration and the depth that they all deserve, really. And I think my general thoughts is, like, you can definitely tell that they're rushing a little bit with, like, you know, trying to cram content from 2 books worth into 8 episodes and stuff, which I think was, you know, perhaps a bad decision really to make, but I'll kind of come back to like what I think they should have done with the benefit of hindsight. In terms of world building, I did really enjoy the world building. I think it did a good job of showing us the world and the people in it, and you know, the Aes Sedai as well are definitely explained really well, and I really liked how the series kind of built them up for quite a few episodes before you actually saw the White Tower and the rest of the Aes Sedai other than Moiraine and stuff. I think it established the White Cloaks quite well as too, you know. I thought it was interesting to have this opposing force to the Aes Sedai, you know, they don't just run around unchecked, they do have actually this band of men kind of going after them. But again, I would have really liked to see more of the history of the White Cloaks and like why they're formed, why these men join it, and like, you know, why they sort of have this opinion of women and stuff and of the Aes Sedai. I feel like that wasn't quite explained as well as it really could have. It was just kind of like, oh yeah, and here's the White Cloaks, they like to chop off Aes Sedai's hands and keep their rings and kill them for reasons. And I feel like as well they kind of got forgotten about in like the latter half after episode 5 and 6 sort of stuff. You know, kind of once they've been dealt with, you know, I feel like, you know, they just kind of got forgotten about, which is a shame because they were sort of always built up as this quite opposing threat really to begin with, and you almost could have had a series where like they're the main antagonists and stuff before then going on to the stuff with Dark One in series 2 sort of thing. But you know, like I said, I'll kind of come back to that. I could definitely say the series just had far too many things to try and juggle and just not enough time to try and fit them all in and explore them at a really good pace. You know, I get that Wheel of Time is this huge series, but you definitely get the feeling that it just didn't quite know how to balance the screen time and what to focus on and when. You get that with the characters as well. It was a good focus on Moiraine, I'd say, but other than her, everyone else feels like they're fighting for screen time and fighting for development and fighting for their character moments, because, you know, you're jumping between Egwene, Rand, Perrin, Mat, Nynaeve, Lan, and then, you know, you also get some stuff with Yavin and Seat and stuff, so, you know, it just even straight up ditches one of the main 5 characters after, like, episode 6 or something, and you're just like, you know, we never really go back to him, and I get that he's going to come back in series 2, but I was just sort of like, hello? That's one of the main people that we've been following with, like, we're not going to at least stay with him for like at least a scene in the episode? Like, what's going on there? In terms of plot, I think the initial idea was simple enough. You know, Moiraine is trying to find the Dragon Reborn. They all get separated on their way to the White Tower, and then they must go to the Eye of the World to defeat the Dark One. Simple enough, right? But then you're trying to add in, you know, all this other stuff going on. You know, you're setting up Moiraine and her relationship with Yavin and Seat. Lan and Nynaeve have a thing going on. Egwene and Rand are having relationship problems. Egwene is trying to learn how to channel. Perrin has going through some shit after episode 1 and the weird stuff happening to him afterwards. Mat is losing his sanity. Moiraine is badly injured. They're being hunted by White Cloaks. There's a fake Dragon Reborn that they need to kind of deal with. You know, they need to escort to the White Tower. It's like, and on and on and on and on. I'm just kind of over here like, oh my god, there's so much going on and you've only got 8 episodes, guys. Like, what the fuck? It's like, I feel like plot-wise there was enough time perhaps, but it's just when you try then to add in all this character stuff on top that it just becomes a bit convoluted and stuff. So I almost needed to like half the plot to make room for all this character stuff that needs to happen and needs to be there. And I was also really surprised at how quickly we find out who the Dragon Reborn is. Like, I thought that was going to get dragged out for at least another season, with it sort of flitting between the 5 of them and being like, it could be any one of them. And then kind of maybe coming to terms with the fact that they might be the Dragon Reborn sort of thing, or what it might mean if they're not the Dragon Reborn, you know. But then you find out in like episode 6 or 7 or something who the Dragon Reborn is, and you're like, oh, okay. Like, I really felt like that, you know, it's the main hook of this series, I think, and especially with all the stuff going on with Matt and stuff, you know, they really could have stretched it out more than they did. I think it would have made sense, because like I've heard from like some book fans, apparently they made a change in the show where they said the Dragon Reborn could be a man or a woman, whereas in the books apparently they know it's going to be a man. You know, that change would have worked if they had then dragged it out and made it, you know, made Nynaeve and Egwene more of like a contender for being the Dragon Reborn sort of thing, especially with sort of stuff that Nynaeve and Egwene sort of get up to with their own channeling later on in the series. You know, I feel like they're, you know, when they rush through it and you get to find out who Dragon Reborn is, that change almost makes no sense, because it just would have made more sense if they were gonna drag it out, if they were going to make it a bit of a mystery of them all trying to work out whether they might be the Dragon Reborn or not. So yeah, just kind of, you know, it was simple enough, but then sort of as I think things went on and they tried to do all the character stuff on top of that, you know, you're just kind of like, okay, you need to have less plot kind of going on because now you're rushing. In terms of characters, I'll start with Moiraine, easily my favourite, if only because I think she gets the most focus and the most like clear focus. You see her relationship with Lan and the mission she's been on for years, and the mystery as to whether she's gone rogue or not. I thought that was quite fun, just like adds elements to her character, because you can kind of see her like going rogue and doing her own thing, but then when you find out kind of what her motivations are and stuff, she does become a very interesting character. I like how she's not easy for our other characters to trust, but she also doesn't really give a shit, because she knows that she's doing the right thing, or at least in her head she thinks she's doing the right thing, so she doesn't really care if you know, some kid from the Two Rivers doesn't like worship the ground she works on. She's like, I don't have to care what you think of me, but you know, you're coming with me whether you like it or not. You know, and so I like how they have those conversations about her part in this as well, and how she's potentially leading someone to die, and the implications of that, but her commitment to like do the right things and stuff, and or at least what she thinks is the right thing. It makes her a very, very compelling character, and you know, I like how that has consequences for her at the end. Very curious to see what that does to her character moving forward, but yeah, I find her really, really interesting. You know, she's this quiet, sort of reserved woman who has this incredible bond with her warder, and does not give a shit what everyone else thinks about her, because she knows what she believes, what she's doing right and stuff, and is like, we'll go forward with that and stuff. So I really, really liked Moiraine. Also Rosamund Pike's hot. I'm a simple woman, okay? So Rand, I did like Rand. I definitely liked how he was one of the characters sort of more opposed to Moiraine and everything to do with the Dragon Reborn. You know, it was mostly through him that we saw more of the conflict about the whole situation rather than blindly following. So I appreciate that they did do that with at least a couple of the characters. I thought his and Egwene's relationship was well established, and I thought there was enough conflict there as well to keep it interesting. And they made it clear how important Egwene was to him, which obviously becomes quite important later on, so I thought that was quite well done. And sometimes it did feel like they were trying to fight, that like the writers had made the two of them kind of fight with each other just kind of like for the sake of drama and stuff. Like overall a decent relationship, and I'm fairly invested in it at this point, you know. Wouldn't have known that Rand was supposed to be this bomb-ass archer if people in the comments in my previous videos hadn't really told me. Like, you see him like do one thing where he like critiques some other guy's bow position, and then that one scene where he's practicing in a range, then he never uses his bow and arrow stuff after that at all. So you're just kind of like, okay, like show us, don't tell us kind of thing. You know, I wanted to see more archery in this show, and I was just a little bit upset by that. Egwene, also another really, really good character. I liked her journey of kind of wanting to be part of something bigger, wanting something more from her small life, and seeing her ability to channel as an opportunity for that. You know, she has a good heart and was ready to go to the Eye of the World, even knowing that she might die when she goes there kind of thing. She knew her own worth, like she didn't take any of Rand's shit. Nor did he like make her feel like, nor did she let him make her feel bad for deciding to trust Moiraine and deciding to think that she could be the Dragon Reborn kind of thing, you know. I really liked her character. She had a really great sense of self, and just this really strong determination, you know, but then still obviously her relationship with Rand is really important to her and stuff, and she's like, you know, she has got that conflict of not wanting to lose that, but then also not wanting to give up on her sense of self and her dreams just for Rand and stuff. You know, it makes her a really, really interesting character, and I'm really excited to see where she goes, especially about after that thing that she did in the last episode and what that's going to mean. Perrin had some shit to deal with, poor guy, but I feel like as well they could have shown his relationship with his wife a little better since she is only in episode 1. I feel like she had very little screen time before the end of that episode and very few lines as well. And then kind of what happens was she's kind of hanging over him for the remaining episodes, but it doesn't really amount to much except for, you know, some kind of like moody character moments in that one conversation he has with Egwene. He has some interesting stuff going on with himself, but again, not enough screen time or development. It kind of just gets forgotten about as well in the later episodes. Like, it doesn't really become relevant later on at all. I would have liked him to at least see him tell his friends about it, about what's going on with him, contribute it to the discussion about who the Dragon Reborn is, kind of see Moraine discuss it with him a bit more. You know, I felt like it was introduced as a plot thread that just wasn't really explained, explored, developed, or even really discussed. It was just kind of there because I feel like they're just setting it up and they're like, oh, we'll come back to this in another series, whereas I feel like if you're setting something up in one series, you need to do a little bit more with it than just bring it in for a couple of episodes and then just completely fucking forget about it. He's such an odd character though, and there's a lot of like development of his friendship with Egwene and stuff, because obviously they do spend the most time together in this series, but I still feel like we didn't get as much of his character as I wanted to see. So I hope we see a little bit more of him and a little bit kind of more depth to him as well as this goes on. Mat is definitely an interesting character who has quite a lot of depth to him, I think. You know, you see how sweet he is with his sisters and how he deals with his parents and his home situation. He makes for a very sympathetic character, especially when he then has to leave his sisters who he's so close with. And it's like one of the group who's so vocal about not wanting to go to the White Tower with Moraine and stuff. I did like that they included both him and Rand, not just blindly following Moraine and stuff, like I said earlier. I did really enjoy that. Mat is definitely going to have an interesting arc going forward. You know, the seeds have been sown for a character arc. But I don't really like how he basically gets ditched for like the last 2 episodes, you know. And there's no mention of him really, we don't see his point of view anymore. He just feels forgotten about, and that's like one thing I think this series definitely struggled with, was the characters. And like, you just sort of see characters and they just don't come up again or sort of things. Like, it could have felt tighter, I think, in which characters they introduced when and why and stuff. So for example, like, so, you know, some of the Aes Sedai and stuff have made sense for them not to turn up in the later episodes, but you expect to see them later on, kind of thing. Whereas like someone like Mat, or even the Gleeman and stuff, you know, they could have really been brought back in the last couple of episodes, or at least kind of kept them running, sort of thing, because they definitely felt like kind of like just completely dropped off storylines with those characters. You know, I really just wish that they kept up with Mat once they got separated from the others and stuff, but I am curious to see what he was up to and what he's going to be doing in series 2. I wasn't expecting to like Nynaeve as much as I did, but I did really enjoy her. I liked how she does not like Moraine. She does not trust her. She just wants to help the others and kind of keep them safe, and I'm super curious as to how her magic is going to like play a part going forward, you know, what the deal with it is as well. And she has this great authoritative nature as the wisdom from the 2 rivers, and she wants nothing to do with the Aes Sedai, so she makes that almost like a good contrast to Egwene, who seems quite keen actually to become a novice and stuff and become one of the Aes Sedai. And her Egwene, Nynaeve's relationship with Lan is interesting. It did feel a little bit forced at the beginning, but kind of after a couple of episodes, you know, I did like how spending time with him allows her to see Moraine in a different light as well. I kind of want her and Moraine to bond, to be honest. Like, I feel like that would be such a like fun power duo. But yeah, I mean, Nynaeve, she's just so incredibly selfless, and you know, I'm hoping that the thing she does at the end of the last episode has an effect on her. Like, I kind of want to see how she deals with that and whether it has an effect on her or not or something. You know, really, really interesting character, and she contributed a lot to the show. Lan's an interesting character. I liked him a lot. His relationship with Moraine was really sweet. I liked how he had a really great example of a close bond that's like a platonic soulmates type thing. You know, they're not romantic or sexual partners. You know, love to see it. You know, there's not enough of that, especially between men and women. You know, there's almost always still that almost heteronormative kind of expectation for them to be together, whereas like I really like that they had that close Aes Sedai warder bond without any of the extra stuff, but they're like platonic soulmates type thing. Absolutely love seeing that. Like, he doesn't care what people think of him, and he has a great family dynamic as well that we see later on. I'm interested to see how his backstory is going to like come into play, and you know, whether it's going to be relevant later. But again, would like a bit more of an exploration with his character. He didn't develop too much over the series and didn't have his characters explored as I wanted to, but he's definitely one of my favourites. Like, he was just really cool. In terms of cinematography, you know, I liked a lot of the cinematography. Wasn't a fan of the very brightly brightly lit scenes outside. You know, I think that's episode 3 or 4 where they're like first separated and stuff. And especially that when you sort of, it's Nynaeve and, no not Nynaeve, Egwene and Perrin, for some reason like the lighting there was just so harsh and overlit and oversaturated and over sharp sort of thing. Like I can't tell if that's the natural light doing that or if someone in post has accidentally sharpened things too much. It just looked a bit odd kind of thing to me. I did like the locations they shot in, you know, the camera shots they used were quite good. I liked a lot of the aerial shots that they kind of used, sort of sprinkled throughout the episodes. You know, it's not an angle I see a lot, and it wasn't overused as well, and it kind of, you know, so it did still had a lot of effect when it was used. I did like how the channeling looks, like, you know, with the sort of like white and sort of the shininess. Didn't like the movements they made Moiraine do in the first episode, like she just looked a bit fucking stupid. But I liked kind of after that they kind of almost got a bit more like how to choreograph the magic and stuff, so it looked a little bit better. But I did like the look of the show personally, like, you know, the costumes. I love the cities and how they made everything look different and like the different cultures and stuff. You know, I did really just enjoy how it looked, to be honest. You know, a few nitpicks here and there sort of thing about the lighting and some of the magic and things, but overall, you know, I thought they did a good job. And last but not least, the soundtrack. I loved the soundtrack. Oh my god, my favorite soundtrack is Like a Raging Sun for episode 4. Loved the use of vocals across the sound. You know, it really just accentuated the scenes and it really got the emotions going, depending on what was happening and stuff. Really great soundtrack. I absolutely loved it. You know, I listened to lots of it all the time, and yeah, I just really enjoyed it. It was one thing that I just constantly noticed when I was watching this show was, oh, I like this piece of music going on in the background. Oh, I like this piece of music going on in the background. Like, really great. I really liked it. I'm definitely going to go and listen to it a lot more because I do listen to a lot of soundtracks when I'm working and stuff, so that's always fun. That's it for me today. As I said, you know, my overall kind of thoughts just are, it's good start. It was a very interesting introduction to this series, but overall I think I am definitely going to just go straight to the books now because I feel like it was just missing that little something that I think the books will deliver on. You know, it did rush a little bit too much. You know, I was sort of saying earlier about how they needs to half the plot. You almost could have had series 1 being just the journey to the White Tower and having things like the stuff with the white cloaks and you know, the fake Dragon Reborn and stuff, and the stuff with Matt kind of almost being the climax, and like the last episode being everybody reaching the White Tower sort of thing, and just a little bit of the aftermath of that. So, you know, maybe Matt's still under the influence as he is, or that's kind of come to a head almost, like, and then, you know, it kind of almost ends, the climax being that Moiraine then sort of does the thing where she takes that out of him sort of stuff, and then going into series 2 you kind of see the aftermath of that and his sort of arc. You know, and the thing with the white cloaks and stuff being, you know, Egwene and Perrin kind of having their own thing and coming to terms with their magic and stuff, you know, being a sort of climax for them before they then manage to get to the White Tower. And, you know, the thing with the other Dragon Reborn, you know, you almost could have built that up. They're almost at the White Tower, but then he starts to break free sort of thing, and then that's obviously when Nynaeve's magic kind of makes an appearance and stuff, and they take his magic sort of thing. You know, they really could have, I think, just almost had that portion be the entire series. And you get to see more of that, like, 2-month-long journey that everyone has gone on that we saw in a time skip. That was one thing that really pissed me off, was actually that was a time skip, because it's like, well, you know, if you're going to have this big, long journey, you need to feel it. You know, Lord of the Rings didn't do sort of, you know, a one-film kind of, they left Rivendell, couple of time skip, and then you get to Mordor sort of thing. You know, it took 3 films for them to get there. You almost kind of wanted, it would almost made sense if they just had the first series be they're going to the White Tower sort of thing, and then and having those big sort of moments be the climax of the last episode and stuff, and then series 2 sees them journeying towards the Eye of the World. And that's kind of, you know, and then it gives you, like, you know, a couple of seasons to be like, oh, who's the Dragon Reborn? Because everyone seems to have magic, and ooh, what's going on? You know, it just would have paced it a little bit better, I think. You know, like, the second series could have been the first half, all of the stuff in the White Tower with the Amon Sea and all the politics and stuff going on there, and then moving on to the rest of the journey towards the Eye of the World and stuff. Another thing I would say just in general, like, you know, when we do see the Dark One, I was a little bit disappointed with the fact that, you know, he's built up as this kind of, you know, big, scary man sort of thing, and it's just a guy in a suit. Like, I was just going to be like, a little bit underwhelmed, and a little bit underwhelmed with how he was introduced as well, like, just randomly in a dream, he's just like, oh, hey, and you're just like, oh, this is the, you know, I kind of almost wish they'd left that to the last episode and he, like, emerges from the shadows or something. I don't know, he would have had a more of a dramatic entrance is what I'm saying. You know, I like some flamboyancy in my villains. But yeah, so it was just kind of like, you know, good like ideas and stuff, but I really felt they should have just kept, you know, cut the series in half kind of thing and had just the journey to the White Tower be the plot really for this series and stuff, and all that stuff kind of going on to then go on to the next series kind of thing, because it just was a bit too rushed and not enough time for character moments. But have you seen The Wheel of Time? Are you a book fan? What did you think of it? You know, are you a non-book fan? Did you enjoy it? Do you plan to read the books? Let me know down in the comments. I would love to hear what your thoughts are. And feel free to comment on anything I've said in this video. What do you think? Am I getting something completely wrong? Do you think, you know, do you completely disagree with some of the stuff I've said? I would just love to hear different conversations down below. Feel free to leave a like on this video and feel free to subscribe. I post 2 videos a week. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time.